How's everybody doing on a, well, not so snowy Saturday after what they said we were going to get overnight? 3 to 6, we're looking if we got a dusting here in central New York. Going to go all the way back. I believe this might be my very first photo bin here. I'm not 100% sure, but I have a feeling it might be. Brewerton Speedway. This is back on July 14th, 2006. And of course, remember back at this time when you went online, there were no videos yet. You had to wait for videos to buffer. And it was a real pain in the butt. A lot of people still had dial-up and everything else. So I knew I needed to get hit, so I knew I wanted to take pictures, but the only pictures you could really find online were the action shots, 3 wide, stuff like that. So I said, I'm going to go in the pits and try to do something a little bit different. There's Jimmy Whitco, the Brenzel construction ride back then. Him and his wife Barb still coming up to Brewerton Speedway today. And wow, really something. When we look back at these cars and remember what this was like. Remember when they used to pit like this, guys? Because there's the entrance to the racetrack back behind. There's the pit grandstand there, too. And they used to pit cars over there when I ran a 4-cylinder for Claude in 2011. We parked over that way, too. IMCA Modifieds. There's Rob Keller's car right there. Carmen Vona also right there. So a lot of folks here at Brewerton Speedway. And this was a lot of fun. These were good times back then in 2006. And man, I'm just having so much fun going through these bins. You see that back when they didn't really even have runner crush in there. It's just kind of dirt with a little bit of stone on top back in the pit area at Brewerton Speedway. Then an IMCA Modified, you see some mod lights. This is kind of looking towards, back towards the lake, looking south almost from that middle row in the pit area right there. And Kevin Cook right there, too. He's still running today, too. I always like taking these pictures with the little star Rations coming through like that, too. So I always had a lot of fun doing that as a former videographer at a public television station. I'd never really taken pictures up until this time, and I was just having the time of my life going through. And one of the nice things I had going at this point, this was 06. It was my 17th season in racing. And it was my first season not working in the towers after working for some tracks and some things I didn't really enjoy being in the tower anymore. And I was still trying to find a way to do something to help the sport, be around the people I respected. And that's when Doug's Dirt Diary really started cranking at about that point. You might not be able to see because of the shadows, but that's a young Ryan Phelps right there. And of course, J.J. Michaels being honored on the side of his car. We still miss J.J. to this day and have to wonder what his career might have been. Just a classy man all the way. Scotty Prentice right here. Look at those grandstands back then. Remember what those look like? They might fall down at any moment, don't they? The JIR team, of course, was very, very prominent. I believe this is Rob Heil. I don't believe it's Chris. I believe this is Rob. And this one right here, Danny Johnson. You can't really see it because of the shadow there, but that's Danny Johnson right there getting into the car. They had brought a bunch of cars. And they made up like a quarter of the field at one time. There's Tommy Sears and his bunch checking out a potential engine problem on his. DJ Forbes right there. Of course, his son now races also. He was running mod lights back at the time. Shock change here in the pit area. That is Jimmy Spano on the left. Stu Shepard in the middle with the look on his face like, what? And Russ Hefty right there, too. That little pre-race dinner for everybody right there. Here's a bunch of the folks with the JIR team. And yeah, there is Rob Heil, because there's Rob Heil right there with the suit on, wrapped around his waist. Jim Spano there, and of course Roger Phelps. I can't remember this other gentleman's name, but I did used to see him around the racetrack a lot. Jimmy Phelps driving the Troyer car back then. And a lot of guys did the Doug's Dirt Diary on the roof posts. I realized real quick that nobody was putting anything on their roof posts. So I had Dan Pilot over at Pilot Graphic Design make me a bunch of these in all kinds of different colors, and I was giving them to anybody who wanted. But up till that point, you never really saw anybody doing anything with the roof panels. And there is the grandstand in the pit area. That looks pretty secure, doesn't it? Amazing we didn't see things happen there. There's Billy Whitaker. I believe this was I believe he was still off at this point, but obviously still coming to the racetrack and having fun. How about that? Got the pit gate right there from the grandstand, so you could get through there. Drivers meeting time for everybody. That was one of the things I like to do. I like to get these shots of the drivers meeting because you could get a lot of candids of the drivers. And now that we look at this, 16 years later, it's amazing. I'm so happy I have these. Of course, not everybody gets through the night cleanly. And if it's still light out, this was a problem in hot laps. Look at that radius rod there. Wow, that's not good when they're bent up like that. So very expensive crash and a lot of works right there. Smiling, oh, Dave Riley right there. That just thought of it right there. So, and it was a tough day for the team with the 2M also, as they got in a jingle here early in the night at Brewerton Speedway. And again, this was when we were still trying to figure things out. We were doing stuff that nobody else was doing at that point. So, because again, we took a look at what everybody else was doing online with their websites, DTD, places like that, and we made a list, and everything that they weren't doing, we were going to do something else. So we went with audio and pictures. And at the time, our pictures were different, like I said, than everybody else, because I'm not that good to take those 3-wide action shots. And anybody who's done that kind of stuff before knows how hard it can be. And I can only imagine what it was like for the photographers who actually had to shoot with film. I mean, you better be darn sure that you got that thing in focus, the lighting's right, and you're moving the camera fast enough. Otherwise, you're going to run through a lot of expensive film and be lucky if you get 2 pictures out of a roll. So digital was so much easier to do at that time. Like that little stripe pattern on the side reminds me a little bit of the old Mopars. Now there's DJ Forbes and Mike Bowman. This is American Mike Bowman, not Canadian Mike Bowman. I understand he's down in North Carolina now. Mike is doing well too. So, Mike, we miss you up here, man. Say hi to Dad and the family for us if you can. There's Scotty Prentice. Talk about my dad would have called it. I'm gonna use the politically correct term, a crap-eating grin, but in reality, the real word rhymes with it. So, but he does have that look on his face, doesn't he? Right there. So, young Billy Decker. Look at Pat Ward in there also. And man, again, this was 2006, so it was a different world back then. As you can see, a little bit of a problem here. Got a little bit of fluid on the ground underneath there, so they had a problem. There's Jimmy Phelps right there giving some advice, perhaps to... Because, again, they're both driving Troyers at this point. That's Rob Bellinger and, of course, Billy Colton from Troyer. I'm going to try to do at least one of these every day, guys. And because, again, we're stuck in the house here for another few days. So we wish you all the best. For all of you who are out there who are sick or hurting or whatever at this point, we're praying for you. We're hoping everything goes all right, and hoping we all get through all this very good. But at least we're sharing some memories here today, and I thank you all for coming and watching the YouTube videos. We're hoping we can get back on the road next week sometime, possibly, maybe a little bit later in the week. Hit the PayPal too. I'll make sure I put a link on there because right now we are depleted for road funds. So we could use even a gas card, something like that, to kind of help us get out there. Hit that blue E down in the corner. That'll subscribe you. And thanks, everybody, for not only buying into my Doug's Dirt Diary Dream, but the YouTube as well. We're going to try to keep this thing strong as possible. We need your help. We've got some things lined up sponsor-wise for 2022. But until we can get to that point, we've got to get through this next few months. So any help you can give is greatly appreciated. Again, hit the blue E, subscribe, guys, and we will talk to you again real soon.